So now what I'm going to do is show you a couple of applications from our Solution Center. So I'll go to our welcome page. We'll go to Search Online Samples. First thing I'll show you is an inventory issue and receive app, where basically you have an inventory list, and then based on whether something's received or issued, we're adding to that quantity on hand or subtracting from it. Okay, we'll go ahead and import this. And you'll see this has 3 sessions: receive product, issue product, and view product list. So if we just take a look at the receive product and we look at the actual calculations here, you'll see we have a quantity on hand that we're looking up. So that's just looking up a quantity on hand from the view product list. And then we're entering a quantity to receive. So the actual calculation we're going to do is based on what's on hand and what's on receive. We're going to add those two and then update this view product list here. So we're going to update this quantity on hand based on what we received to this particular location. So if we look at this, the first thing we do is we have a lookup set up where we're going to the source session, view product lists, and we're basing this lookup off of the part number and what location we're receiving it to. It's triggered on that receive to location. And the source field we're looking up is the quantity on hand. And then you'll notice we have the update source checked. What this is going to do is when we post this record, it's going to update this source session of view product list. And if we look in our calculated options, we have an add function that's adding field 4's quantity on hand to field 5's quantity received. So that's how we're going to update that master list with the current quantity. So now I'm going to deploy this. So we'll go to our view product list. And I'm just going to add some inventory real quick. We'll say stockroom 1, part number 11111. Say item 1. And we'll say our initial quantity on hand is 0. And we'll do another item in this stockroom. Item 2. We'll say initially we have 10 here. And as I enter that quantity, this is auto-submitting. So you'll see records 2. We'll change the stockroom. We'll say stockroom 2, item 1. So you can maintain different levels of the same item based on different locations. Let's say there's 0 in this one. And we'll do stockroom 3. And we'll say there's 5 by default. So we'll just take a quick look at that list. You'll see our stockrooms, our part numbers, our items, item descriptions, and then our current quantity on hand. So you have 0, 10, 0, 5. Now if I go to the receive application, I'll go ahead and enter a part number first. You'll see that it looks up the description, and once we select the receive to location, it'll show you what's on hand already. We'll see that we have 0, and let's say we'll receive 25. And we'll click Save. Now if I were to enter this same item in stockroom again, you'll see our quantity on hand is now 25. So let's add another 15 of that, so our total should end up being 40. So if I were to exit here and go back to view our product list data, you'll see that that item 1, stockroom 1, has now been updated to 40. So we use the combination of lookups and calc fields to update a source session. I'll just go ahead and do a few more here. We'll do stockroom 2. And let's do 30. Then we'll go ahead and issue some products. Basically, everything's set up the same, but instead of the addition, it's doing a subtraction. So we'll do stockroom 2, which should have 30. We'll subtract 12. So we should end up with 18 when we're done. Let's do stockroom 1. And we'll issue 15. Leaving us with 25. Now if I hit done, view the product list, you'll see we're down to 25 in stockroom 1 and 18 in stockroom 2. Now there's one other sample I want to show you from our Solution Center and how you can use this with asset tracking. Let's go ahead and select our asset location audit. Go ahead and import that. We have 2 sessions, scan assets and asset lists. Basically, the goal behind this is to load a list of assets to the asset list session. That would just consist of the asset ID, the location that it's expected, and the description. The scan date and scan status is what's actually going to be updated based on your daily scans, and that's done through lookups and calculations. So if we go to our scan assets session, we have 2 fields down here that are going to update the status and update the date field, which you see in these 2 fields right here in our source session. So if you look at let's go back to our scan assets, our update status, it's going to be something similar to what you saw in the inventory session. So we're going to look in the asset list based on the location and asset ID. Lookup is triggered on the asset ID. Source field we're looking up is scan status. And we have our update source enabled so that it updates our asset list. And then this is the add function with the data type of general, where it just basically takes that string and adds it to that field. So we're just going to add the value that's in status, which happens to be a default value of found. So every time we scan an asset and it's found, we're going to update that asset item with the value of found. Same thing for date. We're looking up the scan date. We're updating with scan date up here. So I'll go ahead and deploy this. So ideally, you're going to load this asset list to the device, whether it be text or one of our integration tools. But for this purpose, I'm just going to add a few assets real quick and submit. So if we look at our asset list, you'll see 4 assets with nothing in this 4th column here. And you'll see that get updated as we scan. So we'll go to our scan assets. Go ahead and select a location, room 101. You'll see them appear in our grid. But you'll see once it's filtered on location, so we selected room 101. These are our expected assets. So as we scan assets, they're submitted and taken off that list. Let's say we're done with our scanning. We'll just check this all assets found for this location and submit. And we'll go to a different location, and you'll see our assets expected for that location. Let's just scan this one. Let's say, there's no more assets to scan in this room. So now you'll see that, I'm expecting to have asset, 333333. And it's not there. So then at that point, we can put in the comments here, assets not found, and submit. So then if we go back to our asset list here, you'll see that these 3 records that we scanned were updated with the scan date. And if I were to edit one of those, it's also updated with the value of found. So that's another example of using our calculated fields along with our lookup capabilities. Last thing I want to show is some advanced parsing. Go ahead and slide this over. This is basically an application for scanning meat products from different suppliers, and those suppliers actually have different type of requirements and delimiters. We're also totaling the different products we're scanning as well as different totals based on the supplier that's selected. So here's my device. And I'll show you the barcodes that I'm actually scanning. So we'll go into Scan Product. We select a supplier. This happens to be supplier 3. I'll take my device out. And this is going to happen quickly, but if you watch as I scan the product, it's going to parse out the product ID, the correct weight, which is 1611 pounds, as well as the units. Based on the supplier, it's either pounds or kilograms. So I'm going to go ahead and scan my first one. So you'll see some parsing happening, product ID of 12666, and a weight of 1611. I'll scan it again. And I'll scan it a 4th time. So once we do that, we can go to our view totals. You'll see that it's actually keeping track of what's scanned. So we scanned 4 cartons of this that weigh a total of 6,444 pounds. Same thing goes for supplier because we've only scanned 1 product. So if let me go to 2 different products from the same supplier. This will be the first barcode I'm going to scan. So this happens to be supplier 5. When I'm selecting that supplier 5, it's actually looking up data from another session that's bringing in values that we're dynamically parsing based on. Let me go ahead and scan this. You'll see that this one has a weight of 30 pounds and a product of 12941. You'll see that correctly being parsed out as we're scanning. Scan this 4 times. Now let's immediately switch to, I'm going to go ahead and scan this barcode here, which is the same supplier, but a different product. See, we're correctly getting the 51.20 pounds and the product ID of 72314. So we'll scan this 3 times. Now if I look at my totals, you'll see 2 products here. Product ID 12941 and 72314. It has our total weights for those. And then if you look down here in the supplier section, it's actually combining those. So we scanned a total of 7 cartons for the supplier, along with a total weight of 273.60 pounds. So this is one of the more advanced setups in using calculated fields, lookup fields, the dynamic parsing, as well as the grid control. All this combined to do these different totaling. So that pretty much concludes this webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.